How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to Armchair Analysis. I hope you guys are having a great week or had a great week. It's Friday. Getting ready for a good weekend. As a matter of fact, I go back into work this week. Forgive the hair. It's not cooperating. I don't really want to put a hat on, so, not the greatest look. I get it. But, when is it, to be honest? Um, Today is just all about this last week of action in sports. Of course, we're going to cover the NFL draft, as that's probably the main title of this video at this point. We're going to talk about everything that went on in the MLB this week, the NBA. I'll give you another update on the first round of games. Same thing with the NHL. We'll give you an update on the first round this far, some surprises, some things that maybe we did or didn't expect to this point in the playoffs. And again, of course, some surprises and things that I'm really looking forward to. I was live tweeting with the draft all night. You can actually follow me on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, at TIceleyLSN. You can find all my updates. I post every video on there. At least I try to remember to post every video on there. But I was live tweeting with the draft last night and having a really good time with that. I thought it was a lot of fun. We had an interesting night, to say the least. So, as much as I wanted to save this for last, let's just go ahead and get into the NFL draft conversations, if we may. Now, there's a handful of things that I've thought about this draft class. Of course, running backs, Ashton Jeanty, and then everybody else. There's one guy in there that went in the first round that I really like as well. Um, there's quarterbacks, Cam Ward, and then everybody else. And where are those guys going to fall in, and who ends up being that second quarterback taken? We would learn that it was not who we thought it was. And then, of course, like, how do we answer Shedeur Sanders not being taken in the first round? Spoiler alert. Will Johnson not being taken in the first round. There's a lot of different ways you can approach this. I'm going to approach the things that are most obvious, that are the simplest to explain, and we're going to kind of work our way out of this, okay? Cam Ward, number one to the Titans. Nobody's surprised. As soon as the Titans said, hey, we're not shopping this pick, it was kind of curtains on the whole idea the of anybody else taking Cam Ward, of anybody else going with that number one pick. The Titans wanted a quarterback. They got their guy. I'm excited to see what Cam Ward can do. I've been very adamant this is not the best quarterback class. I don't really think anybody has what it takes to be a star quarterback in the league. I think some of them are going to stick around a little longer than others, as they always do. But Cam Ward is not really the guy that I think is going to turn around this Titans franchise. I could be wrong. I've been wrong before. And I'm sure Titans fans would love for me to be wrong. But I'm just not sure that I love it. But I get what they were doing and why they felt they had to do what they did. As for Travis Hunter, of course, he goes number two, but he doesn't go to Cleveland. Cleveland trades and wins I would say it's a pretty even trade. The Jacksonville gave up a lot to get Travis Hunter, and they had to. They truly had to. They wanted an offensive weapon. It was either going to be that or it was going to be them taking Ashton Jeanty at 5. They end up taking Travis Hunter at number 2 with that trade. Blockbuster trade right off the bat in the draft. But I think this is a good pickup. This is a weapon for Trevor Lawrence. Of course, Travis Hunter is being viewed kind of, he wants to play both ways. He wants to play offense and defense. I think it's going to happen, but I think the primary focus is going to be wide receiver in a lot of these teams' minds. Travis Hunter with Jacksonville gives Trevor Lawrence another weapon, and we'll see how they build from there, offensively and even defensively, as a team that I think has there's some potential with Jacksonville. They're not just like a team that's completely out of any conversation to maybe be a winning team this year. Everybody expects them not to be because it's Jacksonville, but it's not a bad roster, if we're being honest. It's not terrible. There's just some things they could fix and work on, and gaining a really big weapon at wide receiver does that. I mean, really, you get 2 for 1 because you also get a corner that can come in and play 30 snaps a game. We'll see what they end up doing here. The other obvious one was Abdul Carter. He went number 3 to the New York Giants. I'm super pumped as a Giants fan. But as far as NFL goes, this guy was a first overall pick talent, and yeah, he dropped a 3, fell into the lap. But when you have one team that's so focused on what they're getting, which is a quarterback, and then you have a teams trading up for what should have been the number 1 overall pick, what was the best product, the best prospect in the draft. It was only obvious that Abdul Carter would fall to number 3 to the Giants. The Patriots went and took Will Campbell, an offensive tackle. I think that's a big deal for them. They need to shore up that offensive line, help Drake May out a little bit. I thought they might go defensive line. Mike Vrabel being the head coach, maybe taking that approach of defense first, trying to get the Pats' defense back together. They didn't do that. They took Will Campbell, which left Mason Graham open for the Cleveland Browns. And the Browns are going to get a really good anchor point on that defensive line. I'm excited to see what happens with that. Ashton Jeanty goes at number 6 to Las Vegas. He's the highest ever drafted player from Boise State. So congrats to him. Congrats to the Raiders too. Looking forward to seeing how that goes. My first surprise of this draft overall was Colston Loveland going at number 10. He went, yes, in the top 10 to the Chicago Bears, where I think that's a huge weapon for Caleb Williams. I've seen some people saying that they don't think Colston Loveland's going to be an NFL caliber talent. I think he's going to be perfect for the NFL. I think that he has a lot of really, really strong potential, and it's just his overall playmaking ability that we saw in college. It doesn't really just go away when you get to the NFL. Injuries could hamper a career, but I don't think that this guy's overall talent and IQ of how to get the football in space and make plays is just going to go away. So Colston Loveland, I think, is a really good pick for the Bears at 10. But I was surprised because that's who the Colts wanted. The Colts were all over Colston Loveland. They lose Loveland, and I think the bigger surprise here is that Colston Loveland goes before Tyler Warren, who would then go at 14 to the Colts. Tyler Warren is kind of was a Swiss Army knife player for Penn State offensively. He could do whatever they asked him to do, and he did it well. And he's going to go into this Colts offense. He's not going to do that. He's going to play tight end primarily, and I think he's going to be just fine as a tight end. But I do think if we're talking about overall receiving threat, big play threat, I do lean towards Colston Loveland a little bit more than I do Tyler Warren. It's not a dig at either one of them. I think they're both really good players, and I'm excited to see how they progress forward. But I do like Loveland more than I like Tyler Warren as a prospect and as a receiving threat, as a big play threat. That's who I would take. Like that Chicago made that move. Now we move a little bit further down in the draft. I mean, there were some surprises, I guess, and maybe it's not a surprise to me because I saw this coming for the last couple of days. We saw a little bit of buzz around Gray Zabel from North Dakota State jumping up into the first round. He was projected as like the 35th best player in some big boards. He jumps all the way up to 18 to the Seattle Seahawks. He's an awesome interior offensive lineman. He was solid for North Dakota State. I think he's going to be really good in Seattle. Kind of a position of need for them. I think the biggest thing was a surprise that maybe they took somebody on the interior line in the first round. We didn't know if anybody was first round talent there, but they did go ahead and make that happen. Again, getting Gray Zabel. And I should say, we knew Donovan Jackson would be. Didn't know if anybody else was going to be there. And Donovan Jackson was kind of late first round anyways, which he ended up going 24th to the Vikings. Just ahead of the Vikings, though, we had a couple of interesting picks. Derek Harmon, defensive tackle from Oregon, goes to Pittsburgh. I can already tell you that Pittsburgh does not deserve this kid. They are beyond pissed that they didn't get an offensive player here. But Derek Harmon is a very, very good, borderline elite pass rushing talent from the interior defensive line, which sets a lot of things off to the side for TJ Watt, who has been a main focus point of many offensive lines. So now you get a guy on the interior that can counteract what everybody's doing for TJ Watt and vice versa. that is a huge addition to a defensive line, and it's also kind of your replacement for Cam Hayward, who's on the back end of his career, which we know. I think it's a really good pick. Is it not? It's not the offensive pick that everybody wanted it to be. It's not Shadur Sanders that everybody wanted it to be in Pittsburgh, but it's a really good addition to this team that I think could prove very fruitful in the future. You also have a Marion Hampton who went to the LA Chargers. Chargers have been in this kind of like this lazy Susan, this receptacle of running backs coming in and out, in and out. Marion Hampton is their guy of the future. That's who they want. That's who they went and got. And I think he's a really good player. I really like Marion Hampton to go to the Chargers and be utilized by Jim Harbaugh in his style of offense. We can go one more spot down, talking about surprises, and Matthew Golden to the Packers, a first-round wide receiver, first time since 2002 that the Packers do this, and they do it on their home turf. Of course, the draft being held in Green Bay. This is a good pick. They need a wide receiver help. I picked them to go and reach for Jaden Higgins because I didn't expect for either Matthew Golden or Emeka Egbuka to be still on the board at this point. Well, they were, and Matthew Golden goes to the Packers. I like this pick. I think it's a really interesting dynamic. It's gonna be a big time weapon for Jordan Love, and we will see. I think they have a really underrated wide receiver room. We'll see what they can do going forward. I like the Packers in 2025. I mean, we're not predicting teams yet, and obviously we still got 7 rounds of draft to go. So I'm not overly huge on anybody yet, but I do like where the Packers sit right now as we head forward into 25. I don't want to say surprise because there was a lot of rumblings that this was going to happen as the draft was getting set to start, and even going back into the last couple of days, I thought there was a lot of love from the Giants being shown for Jackson Dart, and that's what happens. Jackson Dart, the Giants trade into the first round, surprisingly in some ways, and I'm going to kind of explain why I'm surprised by it, but the Giants trade into the first round to take Jackson Dart, 25th overall, and I have mixed feelings because, again, I've said it. I don't love this quarterback class. But there's one thing I do have a lot of faith in, and I trust Jackson Dart a lot. For those who were here when I was when I was just college football strictly, and by the way, that'll still be a thing. I'm still going to be college football, especially in the fall. But for those who thought that that Jackson Dart was not a good quarterback, you're thinking, why would you make this pick? Why is this the option here? For me, I really love what Jackson Dart brought to the table. He brings an attitude to the table, just this winning mentality, and he doesn't mind taking hits or trying to fight for that extra yards if it means the team gets what they need. Jackson Dart's a guy that kind of gives everything for the team, wants to win at all costs, and truly, he's got a lot of the skills that Josh Allen has, just without the height. I think Jackson Dart can be a really solid player in the NFL. I don't know if he's a star player. I don't know if he's better than Daniel Jones in the long term. I do think there's some potential here, as this is Brian Dable's favorite prospect since Josh Allen, according to many reports. So we'll see. We will see what happens here. I'm not expecting much of anything out of it personally, but we'll see. I figured this is going to be a year. You got Russell Wilson, you got Jameis Winston. Stick with those guys. Go shore up the rest of the team. Get a quarterback next year. This year was the year, apparently. So we're going to take it. As a fan, we're going to support it. As somebody sitting back watching, I'm kind of thinking this is a little ridiculous. I don't think that it was necessary to trade up from 34 to 25 to get Jackson Dart because I don't think anybody was going to take Jackson Dart before 34. So it's just it's a little frustrating personally, but you got to do what you got to do. You got to make sure you get your guy, and we'll see how it goes. The other thing, Atlanta jumps up into the first round again. They trade with the Rams for James Pierce. That's who they end up taking, and that was an interesting one too. Now James Pierce would have been off the board, but there's other defensive line prospects that you could take. And the other thing for Atlanta is they just took a defensive lineman earlier in this round. They went and took Jalen Walker. Well, I'm sorry, they took a linebacker. They took Jalen Walker from Georgia. And then they're going to turn around and they're going to take James Pierce. You trade into the first round. There's still a lot. There's a heavy defensive line presence here in this draft. I'm just kind of surprised at the way that is worked out. Now for the not so pleasant surprises that we saw. Shedeur Sanders drops out of round 1. There was times where he was probably projected to be a top 10 pick in the draft. Mel Kiper last night was losing his mind that Jackson Dart got taken before Shedeur Sanders, and really, he was losing his mind that Shedeur Sanders didn't get picked at all by a lot of players. Felt like every time. Now, I watched the ESPN broadcast because I knew the ABC broadcast would be a little more geared towards the college careers of some of these guys. I like the ABC broadcast. Don't misunderstand what I'm saying. The ESPN broadcast, though, those are the NFL guys. Those are the guys who are constantly on the NFL. And I knew we were going to hear some interesting stuff there. And Shedeur Sanders not going. I mean, all we ever heard there was Ryan Leaf was picked before Peyton Manning. Tom Brady went in the 6th round. All this stuff. Yes, but there's not been a lot of... I don't know how much there is of Shedeur Sanders that we can prove so far. He's a good quarterback, and I don't think that there's anything particularly wrong with him. I would have loved to see him go first round. I thought he deserved to be a first round pick. That's not the way it went last night. And again, I'm also very significant saying that I don't think this is a great quarterback class. I think the most primed to succeed is probably Shedeur Sanders. But I don't know any of that. I mean, granted, none of us can. We don't have a crystal ball in front of us. But I don't know that I truly believe that there is a great quarterback in this class. So I'm not mad that nobody took Shedeur. Somebody's going to get a steal in the 2nd round. And it'll be on him to prove everybody wrong at the end of the day. It's not on us, it's not on the GMs, it's not on anybody other than him to prove the world wrong. One thing I missed, by the way, in the 1st round, Malachi Starks was picked by Baltimore. That is a dangerous secondary that Baltimore has put together. With Kyle Hamilton and Malachi Starks, both at safeties, the corners have been fantastic. That's been a dangerous pass defense all along. You just added to it. I really like that pick for Baltimore. Will Johnson dropped out of round 1. There was a thing that came out from Adam Schefter last night about a knee injury that has potentially hurt his draft stock. And I don't know. I don't know what I believe to be the case or not be the case here. What I do think is that his tape should speak for what he's capable of and the talent that he has. Beyond that, again, it's kind of like Shedeur Sanders. It's up to him now to prove everybody wrong. Do I think he's a first-round talent? 100%. I mean, I think he's a top 10 pick, especially if he's fully healthy. He's apparently not fully healthy. Teams are worried about something with his knee. Teams are worried about his foot injury last year. It drops him out of round 1. Somebody's getting a steal in round 2 with these two guys. There's a couple other names left on the board, too, that I think some teams are going to be getting steals out of. I mean, truly, like, first-round talents that just fell. Nick Eamon-Worry had a fantastic combine, was, like, near record-setting in a lot of categories. And Nick Eamon-Worry, I've got to watch this guy in person for 3 years now. And he is the real deal as a safety. Just as good as Malachi Starks. Didn't get the coverage because it's South Carolina. just as good as Malachi Starks. Had a pick six that was taken away from him in the LSU game, would have won them that game against LSU. Eamon Worry is a guy who I am very high on. I think anybody who takes him is getting an absolute steal. Another guy I'm in that same boat is Siobhan Revelle from ECU. Remember that name. He is going to be an elite cornerback at the next level. I truly believe it. His biggest thing was injuries last year too. Had some different issues going on. I think that's going to be put by the wayside really quickly with his NFL career. Some other guys that I'm excited to see where they go and how things look. Trey Harris, Luther Burden are going to go today, most likely, here on Friday in this draft. Donovan Ezeraku is a guy that I'm really excited about too. He was a game record at Boston College. I mean, let's just call it what it was. And for a team that didn't have that kind of talent on defense, he put it all on the table. Ezeraku is going to be another steal in the second round. Mike Green's going to be interesting to see where he goes. He's an edge rusher out of Marshall. Fell out of the first round. A lot of people had him going like 17, 18 range. That's not what happened. So we'll see where he goes. Darius Taylor from Toledo is going to be another big add. Guys that are still on the board. Otherwise, we'll kind of see where everything goes. Of course, both the Ohio State running backs, Quinshon Judkins and Travion Henderson, still on the board. You got Mason Taylor, a tight end from LSU. He's going to be on the board. Still, we're going to see. We're going to see what everybody thinks of who in this class. I'm super pumped, honestly. This is going to be a really fun draft to kind of go through, especially because I've been covering college football ever since a lot of these guys started. So I've been doing this since to see all of them, do their full thing. And I think this is one of the first classes. I'm really pumped to see how they pursue the NFL. And I think this class is kind of getting me to the point where I'm going to be interested in the NFL a lot more this year. So, let me know what you guys think. I mean, this fall is going to be interesting. I'm going to have my college football previews coming out later this fall. I'm going to have my NFL previews coming out later this fall. I'm kind of excited for football season. I'm not going to lie. I'm super excited for football season. And we're going to see what happens and how it goes. It's mid-April. It's about that time where I start like ramping up. I'm like, man, I really want some football to be back. And, spring games have happened. Some of them anyways are spring practices. We kind of talked about those not happening and why, and NIL and the portal and how that's a threat to college sports. I actually did that video on Wednesday. If you want to go back and take a look at that one, that's probably the video I've done the most work on in terms of research, getting everything prepared and then putting it into a video of any of the videos I've released so far. So I'd greatly appreciate it if you guys went check that out. But we're not done. We're 23 minutes in. We are not done. NFL draft talk is over though. So we're going to give you guys an update on all the playoffs and the MLB. So let's start with the MLB because it's not playoff time for them. And so in the American League for the MLB, we got Seattle taking 2 out of 3 over Boston. Really interesting series. Boston's pitching just did not show up. Seattle's did. Brian Wu was fantastic yesterday. Seattle did what they needed to do. Minnesota takes 2 out of 3 over the White Sox. Cleveland takes 2 out of 3 over the Yankees. That's a bit of a surprise. But Cleveland's been really good. They put the ball in play a lot. Continuing to do what they're good at. The Houston Astros take 3. They sweep Toronto this weekend. We saw a couple sweeps here this week. Atlanta takes 2 out of 3 against St. Louis. The Mets sweep the Phillies. That's a bit of a surprise. That's a close series. 2 really good teams. Did not expect a sweep at any point in that one. The Miami Marlins take 2 out of 3 over the Cincinnati Reds. The Cubs take 2. Sweep the 2-game set with the Dodgers. The San Francisco Giants take 3 out of 4 over the Milwaukee Brewers out in Oracle Park. That's an interesting one. That's interesting because the Brewers are competitive, but the Giants just continue to roll on, and they're doing a really good job with that. In terms of interleague play, this is where we had a lot of different things going on. The Detroit Tigers take 2 out of 3 over the San Diego Padres. The Washington Nationals take 2 out of 3 over the Baltimore Orioles. That's a surprise there. The Orioles have gotten off to a kind of a slow start. The boys at Immaculate Inning over on Loudmouth Sports did a whole, or did or are doing a whole thing about the Orioles. It's somewhere in there. They are going to be talking about the Orioles and their slow start this year, the slow month of April. You can go check them out over on the Loudmouth Sports channel. Kansas City takes 3, sweeps the Colorado Rockies. The Tampa Bay Rays take 2 out of 3 over the Diamondbacks. The Athletics take 2 out of 3 over the Texas Rangers. A surprise, especially winning yesterday over DeGrom, Jacob DeGrom's day. Texas was leading this game until the 9th inning. The A's walked it off in the 9th with 2 runs. And the Pittsburgh Pirates take 2 out of 3 over the LA Angels. That's a bit of a surprise too. I don't know if I saw that one coming. But yeah, we'll see. Later this actually next week at some point. Let's see here. It'll be next Thursday. You will see a video from me talking about everything from the first month of the season. All the best players, my player of the month, standings to this point. All of that stuff is going to come up on a video next week. MLB April review. Make sure you tune in for that one. The NBA playoffs, we move on to that now. In the Eastern Conference, we have the Boston Celtics with a 2-0 lead over the Orlando Magic. The Indiana Pacers with a 2-0 lead over the Milwaukee Bucks. The Cleveland Cavaliers 2-0 over the Miami Heat. And then the Knicks with a 2-1 series lead over the Detroit Pistons. The Knicks and Pistons has been a fiery, heated series. A lot of shit talk, for lack of a better term. A lot of heated moments. Really enjoying that series overall. I mean, that's probably the most I've enjoyed an NBA playoff or an NBA game in general in a long time. But the Knicks and Pistons are having a heck of a battle. The Lakers and Timberwolves on the Western Conference side now. The Lakers and Timberwolves tied at 1. They play again tonight, I do believe. The Houston Rockets and the Golden State Warriors tied at 1 going into Game 3. The Oklahoma City Thunder with a 3-0 series lead over the Memphis Grizzlies. They had a huge comeback yesterday. Ja Morant went out of the game. It was 67-40. And then came the roll that Oklahoma City went on to go and win that game. I think it was 114-109. The LA Clippers throttled the Nuggets last night, just dominated them, and they take a 2-1 series lead over the Denver Nuggets. And one might come to ask if Mike Malone being fired was really solved their problem. I don't know. Food for thought, I'm sure. But yeah, that's where we're at on the NBA side. Lastly, the NHL. The Eastern Conference, we'll start with the East. The Florida Panthers with a 2-0 series lead over the Tampa Bay Lightning. And the Toronto Maple Leafs have a 3-0 series lead over the Ottawa Senators. That's your Atlantic Division playoffs. In the Metro Division playoffs, our side of the Eastern Conference, you have the Washington Capitals with a 2-0 lead over the Montreal Canadiens, and the Carolina Hurricanes with a 2-0 lead over the New Jersey Devils. All of these series in the East so far have been relatively dominated. The one thing I'll say is that Toronto has not had it easy against Ottawa. I know they have a 3-0 series lead. They've taken 2 of these games in overtime. The Senators are hanging around, and they are making life difficult. It's really hard to hang with the explosive offensive power, really, that the Toronto Maple Leafs have. When you got 3 lines that could score on you at any minute, it makes things really difficult. And it certainly makes it tough when you're in 5-on-5 and overtime when it's sudden death. The Leafs are at an advantage here, but the Senators, again, are not making this easy. This has not been in any way an easy series for Toronto. I think this is going to go 5, but who knows? They play again in Ottawa, I think, on Saturday or Sunday. I think it's going to be Sunday. In the Western Conference, you have the Los Angeles Kings with the 2-0 series lead over the Edmonton Oilers. The Kings have kind of, I don't want to say dominated. They got up 5-1, I think, at one point in their game against the Oilers in Game 1. it would then be tied at one point where the Kings would win with like a late goal, 40 some seconds to go in that first game. They went out and dominated in game 2. The Dallas Stars have taken 2 in a row in overtime against the Colorado Avalanche. We'll see. Game 4 is still in Ball Arena out there in Denver. We'll see. I took the Stars to win the series, but man, they've only led for I think they've led for 1 minute and 3 seconds total in this series out of 3 games. That is 180 minutes, and they've led for 1 minute and 3 seconds. The Stars are just doing everything they can to stay in it. The Minnesota Wild were the team that I kind of talked about being a surprise team. I thought if they got healthy, they were going to be a team that's scary. Joel Eriksson Ek and Kirill Kaprizov are back. And here we go. It's 2-1 Wild after Game 3 up in Minnesota. If they can take Game 4 and take a 3-1 lead, I don't know. I don't know what to say other than I think Vegas is going to be out. Last night, Winnipeg and St. Louis. St. Louis dominated that game up at home in St. Louis. Winnipeg's looking to bounce back, but they still have a 2-1 series lead here going into Game 4. So those are your playoff updates. By the next time we come here, we'll have some series winners. We'll still have plenty going on. I'm sure of that. We'll next time you see us also on Monday, we'll recap the NFL draft, talk about winners and losers from the draft. We'll talk about, NFL, NHL, NBA playoffs again. We'll recap the weekend series from the MLB. Next week at some point, you will also see, probably relatively sooner rather than later, probably on Tuesday next week, you'll see me recap the Boston Red Sox documentary. I'm super excited. I'm finishing it up. I've kind of taken my time with it, and more time than I meant to. But hey, better late than never. I'm really excited to get through it and see where that takes us. I am currently on episode 5, so I have 4 episodes left to go. I should at least get through 2 of those tonight and 2 of those over the rest of the weekend. I should get through all of them through the weekend to get this video out by the end of this month. And yeah, we're just kind of seeing. I think Monday, Friday is going to be your baseline for shows, at least during this time of the year. And then once we get in the football season, I'm going to be going heavy with season previews. It's going to be a double upload type of time of year where I'm going heavy with previews, whether it's conference previews, NFL previews. We're going to go heavy at the we're going to go really heavy after the college football season. Sundays are going to be a big day for us. I'm going to bring back the live streams, recapping everything from Saturday. We're going to bring back the and what was I going to say? We're going to bring back Monday shows, recapping Sundays in the NFL. We're just going to have a lot to talk about, and I'm super excited for it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, a lot of cool stuff going on. And I hope you guys are going to stick around, because this is going to be an interesting time to figure out what happens and when it's going to happen and how. But it's going to be really good. So I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys so much for the support over the first month of this channel's kind of rebrand and existence again. And yeah, I'm looking forward to going forward with it. So all that said, thank you guys, and we'll see you in the next one.